Welcome to the undocumented world. Today, we're going to talk about a virus that could erupt at any moment, turning humans into zombies, and for which there's no cure. In the worst-case scenario, all of humanity could turn into zombies and face extinction. I first heard about this from a senior in the university lab. At the time, I thought it was just something out of a zombie movie, not a real fact. But later, the senior explained that this virus is called a prion, and she slowly revealed the truth behind prions. When one heard it, I almost vomited on the lab table. It was a story even more horrifying than a zombie film. Out of curiosity, I later researched a lot about prions and found that scientists speculate that this virus may have erupted once before, about 40,000 years ago, leading to a global zombie outbreak. It's possible that each of our ancestors was a survivor of that global zombie outbreak. Why do I say this? Because scientists have discovered that almost everyone has a gene called P or NP on their 20th chromosome, which is used to resist prions. Those ancient humans without this gene may have been wiped out by the previous prion-induced global zombie outbreak. Let's go back 8 years to May 26, 2012 in Miami, where the sun was shining brightly. Suddenly, a naked young man attacked an elderly homeless person, not to rob or fight, but to tear off the old man's face with his teeth. When the police arrived, the old man's face had already been bitten off by 3/4, and the young man was still biting relentlessly. Even after being shot by the police, he didn't let go until he was finally killed. Later, the forensic investigation revealed that the young man had gone mad due to drug use, causing him to act like a zombie. His body temperature was over 40 degrees, and he was running and undressing, behaving like a lunatic, with extreme aggression and self-harming tendencies. He was so strong that 4 or 5 strong men couldn't hold him down, and even a taser couldn't subdue him. This happened because his brain tissue and nervous system were damaged by drugs, and his body was controlled by a mutated neural center. Fortunately, this mutated neural center was not contagious, or it would have turned into a real-life zombie event. However, there are real cases where a mutated neural center can be transmitted to others. The story also takes place in the United States. The first reported case of zombie deer in the U.S. occurred in 1967 when people noticed some wild deer walking unsteadily, drooling, having dilated pupils, showing no fear of humans, and attacking both humans and other deer. Deer that were attacked also exhibited the same symptoms. This phenomenon had been around for a long time but did not infect humans and only spread among deer, so it wasn't given much attention. Later, similar cases appeared in South Korea and Canada. In recent years, the zombie deer situation in the U.S. has become more severe. Official reports in 2019 indicated that this zombie deer epidemic was sweeping through 24 states in the U.S. and Canada. The red markers indicate areas where more than 25% of wild deer were infected, with some regions having infection rates as high as 79%. Remember the Korean movie Train to Busan? The entire zombie story began with a zombie deer being hit by a car and then staggering back to its feet. Up to this point, reality on zombie movies seemed to differ by just one step: the transmission of the virus to humans. Experts announced to the public that this virus is called a prion, and zombie deer are the result of prions spreading among deer. Based on our current understanding of prions, once the disease manifests, there is no cure. Prions attack the brains and nervous systems of infected animals, causing them to lose control of their bodies, which are then taken over by a mutated neural center. The main transmission route of prions is through the consumption of meat from infected animals. What's most concerning is that the incubation period for prions can last up to a year. This means that a hunted deer, though appearing healthy, might already be carrying prions that could infect humans. Thankfully, after research, scientists found that the prions in these zombie deer currently seem difficult to transmit to humans, or even if humans carry them, they may not develop the disease. So far, these prions have only spread among deer with no reported human infections. However, the situation in the UK is different. In 2012, a British mother shared a heartbreaking story on BBC. She said her otter was lively, loved swimming and sports, and enjoyed eating steak and sausage rolls. During the previous Christmas, she prepared a special gift for her otter, who was thrilled to receive a pair of sneakers she had always wanted. But soon, even before winter ended, the girl stopped wearing the shoes. When asked why, she replied that she felt unsteady while wearing them. By the end of winter, the girl's condition worsened, and she frequently fell for no reason. After a hospital checkup, the doctor coldly diagnosed her with variant Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease (VCJD). The mother was nearly overwhelmed with despair. From then on, the little girl never stood up again, moving from a wheelchair to a hospital bed. Within a year, doctors were powerless, and the mother, unable to accept the situation, watched her otter suffer and eventually pass away. This variant CJD is the human form of mad cow disease, which is also caused by prions. Like the zombie deer, these prions cause cows to go mad and become zombie cows. The first human case of mad cow disease in Scotland was reported in 1996. By 2012, the UK had reported over 170 cases, and more than 50 cases were reported globally. After 2012, the government began to take mad cow disease seriously, and human infections almost disappeared. I couldn't find data after 2012, but a 2012 study by the UK Health Protection Agency showed that 1 in every 2,000 Britons had abnormal prion carriers. Additionally, the UK has over 400,000 tons of beef infected with mad cow disease stored in secret warehouses across the country. The disposal process is very complicated, involving boiling the beef thoroughly, grinding it into a paste, and then incinerating it at 1,000 degrees Celsius until it turns to ash. As of today, it will take at least 4 more years to completely dispose of this infected beef. Why is disposing of prion-infected beef so complicated? This is due to the terrifying nature of prions, as they are not actually viruses. Let's go back to the 1950s, when Kuru disease broke out in the primitive forests of the South Pacific. The 4 people who lived there had little contact with the outside world. The local government reported that a strange disease was breaking out among these people, causing them to laugh uncontrollably, tremble, and then develop a fever. They would stop speaking, lose control of their bodies, and often die in a state of constant dancing. Initially, some scientists believed that Kuru was a genetic disease specific to the 4 people and was not contagious, so the government was advised not to panic. However, a scientist named Daniel Carlton G.A.J. Dusek suspected that the disease might be contagious and decided to investigate further. Upon entering the forest, G.A.J. Dusek examined the bodies of Kuru patients, but found no trace of any known pathogens, such as viruses, bacteria, or fungi. He then focused on the diet and water sources of the locals, but still found nothing. Suspecting that heavy metals in the soil might be the cause, he conducted tests, but the results were negative. He then lived with the 4 people, observing every detail of their lives. Despite living among them, he did not contract Kuru, which made him question whether it was truly an uncommunicable genetic disease. Just as he was about to give up, a key event occurred. A tribal elder died of Kuru, and in a ritual, the elder's brain was divided among family members and other elders. G.A.J. Dusek pretended to eat his share but secretly preserved the sample. Back in the lab, he found no microorganisms or viruses in the sample. He then mashed the sample and injected it into a healthy chimpanzee, which subsequently developed Kuru. Next, he filtered the sample to remove all possible microorganisms and viruses, leaving only protein particles. These particles, when injected into a healthy chimpanzee, still caused Kuru. He then took a sample from the Kuru-infected chimpanzee, dividing it into 2 parts. One part was filtered to remove all microorganisms and viruses, while the other was treated with protease to denature the proteins. The first sample caused the chimpanzee to develop Kuru, while the second did not. This indicated that the problem lay with the proteins. G.A.J. Dusek concluded that Kuru was caused by an unknown pathogen, neither a microorganism nor a virus. In 1982, another scientist, Stanley Prusiner, identified this pathogen as a protein, naming it a prion. Prion is short for proteinaceous infectious particle, and it is more accurately translated as prion. To understand prions, think of proteins microscopically as what we commonly call meat. Microscopically, proteins are the basic building blocks of carbon-based life. Prions are essentially these building blocks. Both G.A.J. Dusek and Prusiner won Nobel Prizes in physiology or medicine for their work on prions in 1976 and 1997, respectively. The scientific community now places great importance on prions because they are unique. Unlike all other forms of life, prions lack genetic material. They are simply clumps of protein. However, they can preserve genetic information through different protein folding patterns and exhibit certain lifelike characteristics, such as reproduction and mutation. These characteristics manifest when people consume food containing prions, which can then lie dormant in the body for a long time, sometimes for life, or be passed on genetically. Once the disease manifests, it causes the neural center to mutate, leading to low intelligence, loss of bodily control, and eventual death in a state of madness. Scientists are also unsure if prions that infect humans could cause even more extreme mutations, like the young man in the initial story. Prions can cause different symptoms in different species, ranging from mild to severe, such as Kuro in the 4 people and VCJD in the little girl, which are relatively mild, while mad cow disease and zombie deer are more severe. Since prions transcend our understanding of life, any medication designed for living organisms is ineffective against them. Our immune systems also fail to recognize and combat them, allowing them to run rampant in our bodies. Most disinfectants and methods are ineffective against prions, as they are proteins. Even heating to 600 degrees Celsius or exposure to high-intensity UV radiation does not destroy them. The only effective methods are complete incineration or using strong protein enhancement tests. Based on our current understanding, prions could exist wherever there are proteins, such as in the human body, brain, food, bacteria, and cells. Although you might think this is just a scientific speculation, in 2019, Chinese scientists discovered prions within viruses, suggesting that prions, the ultimate evil, could be present even in bacteriotics. Prions are potentially everywhere and could erupt at any time. While modern science is still not fully aware of prions, it is clear that prions do not easily erupt. The only known cause is cannibalism. The final research on mad cow disease suggests that it may have been caused by unscrupulous merchants processing dead cattle into feed for live cattle. This brings us to a chilling fact. Why do we all have a gene on our 20th chromosome that resists prions? It's likely because our ancestors, along with other early humans, practiced cannibalism, which led to a previous prion outbreak. Eventually, our ancestors stopped this practice and developed resistance genes, allowing them to survive. This is why we have an innate revulsion toward cannibalistic tribes, but also a genetic curiosity. If this curiosity ever surpasses our revulsion and we cross the line, prions could erupt again, turning us into zombies and wiping us out. That's the prion story my senior told me years ago. Do you think the story behind prions is even more unacceptable than a zombie movie? Thank you for watching. See you next video.